Email Surveillance is the 9th episode of the second season of The Office. This is directed by the wonderful Paul Feig, and I have to say I rather enjoyed it. And there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts, and my thoughts are pretty much positive. The only thing I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of is them leaning into the whole email surveillance thing. Maybe it will come up in future episodes, but I think we could have got a little bit more comedy out of there, with Michael doing maybe a little bit more searching into the emails. But what we got was still good. It actually starts off quite suspenseful, with Michael seeing somebody crossing the parking lot to come into the building, and he immediately turns all of the lights off. Honestly, if that happened in real life, that would be kind of scary. But we quickly learn that it's just the IT tech guy, and he and Michael didn't exactly get off to a strong start. And Michael points out, he tells the camera that there are several things that as a boss he doesn't share with his employees. He doesn't share his salary, he doesn't share his bed, and he's not going to be sharing the fact that he's going to be searching their emails. However, IT sent a memo around telling everybody that this email surveillance was going to be happening, so they find out anyway. And Pam becomes quite suspicious because Dwight tells Angela that if she has any sensitive emails, she should probably delete them. And Pam instantly thinks that there must be something going on between them, or Dwight must at least be sending Angela some sensitive emails. And she goes on a bit of an attempt at trying to unravel this throughout the episode, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. Michael obviously starts by searching for his own name, and then he finds an email, an evite, for a barbecue at Jim's house that night. And it seems like everybody in the office has been invited apart from Michael. Michael does try and get some information out of Jim, but it doesn't work, and Dwight finds out that Michael's not invited, so Jim thinks on his feet and tells Dwight that he's actually planning it as a surprise for Michael, and Dwight is happy to go along with this. It does seem surprising that Dwight was invited, but then we learn that actually the real reason for that is because Jim's roommate doesn't really believe that Dwight is real. Because obviously Jim's stories of Dwight will have some very odd behaviour in them, so that's kind of why Dwight is invited, and that's a pretty good explanation there. We do get a couple of scenes with Michael after work at an improv class. Those scenes were not too bad. I didn't love them, but it was decent padding to kind of break up the main narrative. They were okay. The bulk of the rest of the episode, though, is actually at the party. And there's a moment where I don't know whether it's awkward or very sweet. Pam is in Jim's bedroom. Jim was giving a tour of the house, of the apartment, and we have this scene where they're just alone in the bedroom, and they're kind of reenacting the office layout, and I don't know if it feels awkward or if it feels really sweet. I can't work out how I feel about it. So if anybody has any thoughts on that or strong feelings, I'd love to know. But it feels like just another step forward with their relationship, or whatever it is that you want to call it. And certainly Phyllis has some ideas about this, because Pam, in her efforts to try and find out some information about Dwight and Angela, asks Phyllis if she's aware of any secret office romances, and Phyllis was so adorable. She said with this little smile, "You do mean you and Jim, right?" Which was just, it was so cute. It was really adorable. And Pam was very surprised, actually, that Phyllis thought this. And it's nice to have some validation that it's obvious to other people in the office, not just us as viewers, that there's clearly something going on between Pam and Jim. Do Pam and Jim realise there's something going on between them? Sometimes I feel like they must know. And sometimes I feel like they don't realise how the other person feels about them. So I'm really excited to see what happens with this. Everything's going really well. I think the barbecue is really atmospheric. We spent some time indoors, outdoors. We cut between different people at quite a good pace. So we always kind of have a lot to look at any one time. And we're jumping around, but not in a way that's too chaotic, but in a way that feels quite natural, really enjoyable. And then Michael turns up, and the mood definitely shifts. And he doesn't have a lot of self-awareness, because he basically says, let's get this party started, because it's kind of drab. But he doesn't realise that the atmosphere has become drab because of his arrival. A little bit awkward. It gets even more awkward when he decides to do karaoke by himself. and nobody will join in, so he has to do the duet alone. And then Jim, I think partly saving the atmosphere, but also partly because he's just a genuinely good guy who doesn't want Michael to feel abandoned, decides to join in and does the duet with him, which I thought was really sweet. And then we see, and it's so clever. I didn't really realize the significance until we got there. Maybe other people picked up on it, but I didn't. But while they're doing the karaoke, the camera zooms in to 2 feet on top of each other in the distance in the background, and it's very clear that there are Dwight's Birkenstocks, which Jim's roommate complimented when Dwight arrived. I didn't think there was any significance in that. I thought they were just saying Dwight's wearing Birkenstocks to a barbecue and nobody else is. And we also see Angela's shoes. And we had focus on Angela's shoes a few scenes back where she was whinging about getting sap on her shoes when they were outside. And at the time, I didn't pick up on the fact that we were also focusing on Angela's feet. But it was very cleverly done. And then we see very clearly the Birkenstocks and Angela's pink patterned shoes. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think I like that. I don't know why. I just don't. And I think it's partly because I don't like Angela as a character. And I feel like a lot of Dwight's odd behaviour and sucking up to Michael and things was maybe because he was quite lonely in his life, in his day-to-day life. But then if you throw in the fact that he's having some kind of relationship with Angela, goodness knows at this point how deep that relationship is, that kind of throws that theory into the water. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I will form a stronger opinion, hopefully, as time goes on. But we'll see. For now, though, I did think that Email Surveillance was a really good episode. Yes, I would have liked a little bit more comedy out of the surveillance aspect, but as I said, what we got was pretty good, and in general, I thought it was an enjoyable episode.